All right, guys, what's going on? George Morales coming at you. Today, we're going to talk about two of the most popular down payment assistance first-time homebuyer programs that you can use in the state of California. And these programs are going to be available in all of California. I use these a lot with some of my clients, and I just want to go over how each of those work because they're often compared in between each other, and in hopes that this might be helpful for some of you that are looking to buy your first home, or even if it's not your first home. Many people think that in order to use down payment assistance to buy a house, you need to be a first-time homebuyer, which is not always the case, as you guys will see here. So two different programs. The first one is called the CalHFA My Home program. This is probably the most popular down payment assistance program in all of California. CalHFA is a huge organization that provides down payment assistance, and they have several different programs. These programs come in and out, and sometimes they run out of money. This My Home program, though, is like their staple program that always has money available. You don't need to wait for the government to replenish it. And so that's the first program. And so the second one that we'll talk about, and we'll also kind of compare it with, is a program called the GSFA Platinum program. GSFA stands for Golden State Finance Authority. And this program is also a really popular program, and there are some additional benefits to this as compared to the CalHFA program that I initially mentioned. So hopefully some of this is helpful. I think right now with home prices and affordability where it's at, one of the biggest challenges as a mortgage lender myself that I come across when engaging with my clients is being able to come up with a down payment, right? It's not easy to save 20% down like a lot of people think you need to save. And even though you don't need to save 20% down to buy a home, you can come in with as low as 3% or 3.5%. Even that 3 to 3.5% can be challenging for some people to save it. So if you have some income and if you have your credit in place and all that's missing for you is a down payment in order to get in the door to home ownership, then these are programs that might be worth considering. Now there's pros and cons to everything, but I think it's important to just have those pros and cons and weigh out the options and make the decision on your own. So a couple things, we'll get into it right away. The first program that I'll talk about is the CalHFA My Home program, and we'll go into some of the details, some of the general details of how these programs work. So this CalHFA My Home program will provide up to 3.5% in down payment assistance to first-time home buyers. Now this program can be used with an FHA loan, it can be used with conventional financing, or even with VA financing if you've served in the military. The GSFA program on the other side, the Platinum program provides up to 5.5% in down payment assistance, provides more assistance, but the assistance is based on the loan amount. So whereas with the CalHFA My Home program, that program is 3.5% in assistance, or up to 3.5% in assistance, depending on whether you use conventional or FHA financing, but that assistance is based off the purchase price, which is how most programs work. When it comes to down payment assistance, the GSFA program provides up to 5.5% in down payment assistance, but it's based off of the total loan amount. And then this program can be used with FHA financing, it can be used with conventional financing, or even VA financing as well if you've served in the military. And then it can also be used towards your down payment and your closing costs to be able to go ahead and reduce your total cash to close with the purchase. So similar in that regard. Some of the general eligibility we'll talk about. With CalHFA, you must be a first-time home buyer, as I briefly said. And it's interesting because what this means is that for CalHFA's definition of what a first-time home buyer is someone that has not owned a principal residence in the last 3 years, or if you're married, because California is a community property state, if you've not lived in a spouse's principal residence in the last 3 years or occupied that. So what that means is you could have co-signed, for a family member or someone on a mortgage before, but if you can prove that you've never actually occupied that property as your principal or primary residence, then you're still considered a first-time home buyer as long as you haven't owned that principal residence in the last 3 years. So something to keep in mind there. The program has to be used for a primary residence, which means you can't use this for an investment property or a second home or a vacation home. This has to be a property that you intend to occupy. And then as far as the property types that you can use this with, it's going to be single family residences, it's going to be condos or townhomes. There are some exceptions when it comes to manufactured homes, but when I say that, I'm not referring to like mobile homes or something that's in a mobile home park. It has to be a true manufactured home that you own the land to and whatnot, and those aren't very common, which is why I just say that. The GSFA on the other side, general eligibility for that, is one of the cool things about this program is that there's no first-time homebuyer requirement, which means that you can own a property right now and still get up to 5% in down payment assistance for your next primary residence and rent out that property that you currently have, right? So whether you own an investment property right now, or even if you occupy your home that you have right now, let's say it's a condo, but you're looking to upgrade, let's say to a single family home and you don't have enough of a down payment, this is a program that you can use to buy your next primary residence. You rent out your old property that you have, you use the rental income from that to be able to go ahead and qualify and still tap into a program like this. So again, the property has to be used as a primary residence for GSFA as well. And then as far as property types, this can be used towards single family residences, towards condos, towards townhomes as well. The interesting part about this program is that it also allows you to go ahead and use it towards a multifamily property. So you can buy a duplex, triplex, fourplex using this program and get up to that 5.5% in assistance as long as you intend to occupy one of those units. So I thought that's pretty cool. Next thing is when it comes to credit and how you actually qualify for these things, obviously you have to meet some parameters. Credit-wise, with CalHFA, the minimum credit score that is going to be required is going to be 640 or above if you're using a government loan like FHA or VA. Now, if that's the minimum credit score, right? When it comes to that, if you're using conventional financing, then you're going to be at 660 or 680. Now, the general rule with CalHFA is if your credit scores are 700 or above, you're gonna have higher buying power. Essentially what this organization says is, hey, you only need 640 for FHA or VA or 660 for conventional. But if you get up to 700, will allow your debt to income ratios to be higher, which is gonna in turn increase your buying power. So traditionally, what a lot of these programs allow you to go ahead and do when it comes to down payment assistance is have a debt to income ratio of 45%, which means that your total monthly debt payments, and that includes your car payments, credit card payments, student loans, personal loans, things along those lines, plus the new mortgage payment, cannot exceed more than 45% of your gross monthly income. And that's relatively conservative compared to other mortgage guidelines. Most mortgage guidelines allow you to go ahead and go up to 50%, sometimes even higher, depending on the loan program. But with down payment assistance, they'll allow up to 45%, or with CalHFA, in their case, if you get up to 700 or above, then you can go up to 50% of that. So again, if you're making $10,000, 45% of that would be $4,500 as the maximum monthly debts that you can have, and that's inclusive of your new mortgage payment. Whereas if you have a 700 or above credit score, you'll be able to go ahead and go up to $5,000. So something to keep in mind there. When it comes to GSFA, the minimum credit score that they will go ahead and allow with this platinum program is a 640 or above credit score. And then with them, and that's regardless of whether you use conventional or VA finance or conventional VA or FHA financing. And then with them, they will also allow higher buying power. And instead of having a 45% DTI, they'll allow you to go and have up to a 50% debt to income ratio if you have a 680 or above credit score. So they're a little bit more lenient when it comes to the credit score needed to be able to have that higher buying power. So just something to keep in mind there. Next thing that I'll go into, which I think is really, really important, and you guys are probably wondering like, hey, is this free money? No, it's not free money. Well, most of it isn't free money. And so one of the common misconceptions with first-time homebuyer down payment assistance programs is a lot of people think that or assume that they're grants. While these programs can be helpful, there's still a cost to them. You're paying, for this assistance one way or the other. When it comes to the CalHFA program, how it works is, again, you'll get 3.5% in assistance, and then when you sell or refinance the property, you will pay that assistance back plus a 1% simple interest rate. And I highlight the word simple, and I think it's important to note because essentially what that means is that the interest doesn't compound. So although it's not free money, the interest that you're paying on that is very minimal. So let's just take an example here, and let's just say you buy a $600,000 home in California and you get 3.5% in down payment assistance. You'd get $21,000, right? Now $21,000 in assistance that they provided to cover your down payment. And now let's say 10 years from now, you decide to go ahead and sell this home. When you sell that home 10 years from now or refinance, you'll pay back that original $21,000 plus a 1% simple interest rate. So 1% of $21,000 is going to be $210 a year in interest that you're paying. So if you times that by 10 years, because that's when you're going to sell it, then that's $2,100 in interest that you're paying. So a total payback of $23,100. So that's how that would work with the CalHFA program, is 3.5% in assistance. And then when you sell a refi, you pay it back at a 1% simple interest rate. Now, during the mortgage term that you have, you won't have payments. It's what's called a silent second, which means you don't have to make any payments on it. You can always pay it off early. There's no prepayment penalties. You can pay it off anytime, but you're not required to. So you pay back when you sell or refinance, or if you never sell or refinance, let's say you keep the home forever, you'll pay it back whenever the 30-year mortgage is up. So these are all on 30-year mortgages. And so at that 30-year mortgage, whenever you pay off your first mortgage is when you'll pay off the assistance. So something to keep in mind there. With GSFA, how the payback structure works is you'll get up to 5%, 5.5% in assistance. And part of it can be forgiven immediately at closing if you're in select occupations. This is what's called the GSFA Platinum Select program. And so if you're in an occupation like the medical field, like a registered nurse, a certified nursing assistant, nurse practitioner, whatever it may be, you're a firefighter, you're a police officer, if you are a teacher, if you're a first responder, any of these similar type of occupations, you'll be eligible to have 1.5% to 2% of the assistance immediately forgiven at closing, which means it's a gift to you, it's a grant, you don't have to pay it back. So that's one of the benefits to the GSFA program. The other, let's call it 3.5% in assistance, 3 to 3.5% in assistance that isn't forgiven, you do pay back, and you pay back over a 15-year period of time, or a 15-year mortgage essentially. And how that works is those payments are added to your initial mortgage for your standard mortgage. And so it's added to your monthly payment. So that's how that works. Now the interest rate on this one is much higher. The interest rate is actually going to match whatever your first mortgage interest rate is going to go ahead and be. And right now rates for this GSFA program are in the 7% range. And the more assistance you take, the higher that rate is going to be on the first mortgage, plus on the assistance that you have to pay back. So something to keep in mind there. When it comes to interest rates, the GSFA program is generally going to have higher interest rates. The CalHFA program is going to have pretty great rates actually. Even if you didn't take assistance and you compare that program to just using a conventional or FHA loan with no down payment assistance, you'll notice that the rates are pretty similar. And right now rates are ranging in the 6% range right now. So that's that. The next and last couple things that I'll go and talk about are income limits. So when it comes to down payment assistance programs and first-time homebuyer programs, there are income limits, right? And I'm actually going to pull up one of them right now to see if I can pull up some example counties, what these income limits might be. So when it comes to GSFA, to CalHFA, this program, when it comes to income limits, they're going to vary by county, but the income limits are going to be the same regardless of whether you use conventional or FHA financing on this. So just some examples, if you're in Alameda County, the income limit is $300,000. If you are in San Francisco County, the income limit is $300,000. If you're in Sacramento, you're at $225,000. If you're in Orange County, you're at $255,000. If you are, Humboldt County, you're at $174,000. If you are in, Merced County, you're at $174,000. So there's a list on the CalHFA website that shows you what the income limit is for each county, and they're pretty generous. That's the thing about the CalHFA programs, is that I don't know if I can even think of. I've helped hundreds of families use this particular program, and I don't know if I've ever had like one scenario where someone makes too much money to be able to use this program. So they're pretty generous when it comes to the income limits here. And this is your total household qualifying income. So if it's you that's applying for the loan, then you need to make below that limit in order to be able to be eligible. If you and someone else are applying, then both of you combined need to go and be able to stay below these income limits in order to be able to qualify. Now, when it comes to GSFA, they're interesting in that there are no income limits if you use a government loan like an FHA or a VA loan. But if you use conventional loan, there are income limits. So FHA, VA, you're good to go. You can make $1 million a year and still be able to tap into a program like this. When it comes to conventional financing, there's income limits that vary by county. That now the income limits with GSFA are still pretty generous, but they're not as high as the FHA or the CalHFA program. So with this one, pulling an example county here of Alameda County, if you were to use a conventional loan program, the GSFA Platinum program, the income limit would be $284,000. If you were to use this same program in, let's say, Los Angeles, or actually let's say Napa County, the income limit is $233,000. If you use it in Los Angeles County, the income limit is $196,000. So still pretty generous, but not quite as high as it would be with CalHFA. So just something to keep in mind there. And then with assets, in regards to like down payment, some first-time homebuyer or down payment assistance programs require that you come in with a minimum dollar amount out of your pocket. It's called a contribution minimum. So some programs will say, hey, we want you to at least contribute $5,000 to this purchase, and then we'll give you assistance. Well, when it comes to both of these programs, there's no minimum contribution, which I think is a benefit, right? Which means you can literally just have the state of California, or GSFA in this case, cover your entire down payment. And now all you have to do is take care of your closing costs. And one other thing that I'll go ahead and talk about, but you'll take care of your closing costs. But if that's the case, right now with real estate, we're in an interesting point right now where there's a lot of negotiation that can still be had, or there's a lot of leverage that home buyers actually have because there's inventory on the market, at least as of the time that I'm creating this video and recording this video. There's a lot of inventory on the market and rates are still elevated. So home buyers are sitting on the fence. So if you're someone that's prepared income-wise, credit-wise, and now down payment-wise, you can come in and tell a seller, hey, I'll buy this home from you, Mr. Seller, but I want you to give me a credit to cover my closing costs. And then the state of California is going to cover my down payment and literally buy a home with very little out of pocket or almost zero in some cases. So no minimum contribution there. There's no limit to how much money you can have in your account. If you have whatever $200,000 in your account and don't want to use your $200,000, but you want to use down payment assistance, there's no limitation with that. Some programs have that. These programs don't have that. And now the last thing that I'll go ahead and talk about, which is, you might be watching this video and thinking, well, a lot of these things sound like good things. Why wouldn't someone, or why wouldn't more people use this? Or why shouldn't someone, use this? And there's always, again, I mentioned it, early on in the video, is that it's not free money, right? You do have to pay some of it back. And even if it gets advertised as free money, there's no such thing as free lunch in this country is what they say, right? And so there's always going to be a quote unquote catch. And the catch in general with down payment assistance programs is that there's always going to be an origination fee, or most of the time there's going to be an origination fee. And essentially what that means is that lenders will charge you a certain fee to be able to do that loan for you because they don't get paid by this organization that's administering the down payment assistance. So they have to find a way to go ahead and make money for doing the loan for you, right? So that origination fee can generally range anywhere from 1% to 2% of the loan amount. So if you really think about it with CalHFA, if you're getting 3.5% in assistance, but you're paying a 2% origination fee, you're really only getting like 1.5% in assistance, right? In net assistance. So you're getting some money, but then, they're also charging you something to be able to go ahead and use this. So it's not as much assistance as you might initially, believe it was. And with GSFA, the same can apply. 1 to 2% origination fee is what, most lenders are going to go ahead and charge you. The plus side to that is that you're getting more assistance, right? So it's up to 5.5% in assistance. So even if you're getting charged 2% origination fee, you still have 3.5% other assistance that you can use towards your down payment and your closing costs. But again, all of this is negotiable. And right now with the market, the way the market is, again, you can negotiate a lot of stuff. You can negotiate for the seller to take care of all of your closing costs and your origination fee, so you don't have to pay that out of pocket. So that is the gist of down payment assistance between these two programs. I think, again, these are two of the popular programs that can be used in the state of California. So if you're someone that's out there that's looking to buy a home in 2024 and you've got your income dialed in, you've got your credit, you've been working on it, and that's ready to go, but you're just short of how much money you need for your down payment, or you literally have none of it, saved up, but you feel like you have good enough income and credit, and you feel like you're responsible enough to where you can make your monthly mortgage payments on this. You just need help with the down payment. These are two programs to go ahead and use. You can Google CalHFA and their website will come up that'll show you the My Home program, the guidelines, the interest rates, and then you can Google GSFA, which stands for Golden State Finance Authority, and they'll have a few different programs, but the Platinum program will be on there as well to get some more information on their rates. But yeah, I am a mortgage lender that's licensed here in the state of California. So if you or a family member know someone that's looking to go ahead and purchase here in the state of California and don't believe that it's possible, just know that homeownership is possible. And that's it. I'll see you guys around.